Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another live episode of On the Range podcast, Hogg Tactical and Kelley Defense. I'm your host, Mark Kelley. I'm Singleton today. Rick is still out in Las Vegas doing the SHOT Show. He's going to come back and cover that for you. We're going to let this roll a little bit so we can get some people in the live. We're on Hogg Tactical live in the YouTubes, Hogg Tactical on Facebook, and On the Range podcast on X. Now, also, you can go to ontherangepodcast.com and hit the try it for free crew membership button, and you can watch it there as well. It's live on the crew members page. So go to ontherangepodcast.com, click the free membership, or try the all access package for free for 3 or 2 weeks. It was 3 weeks. Now it's 2 weeks. So anyway, I want to, while we're waiting a few minutes, give you kind of a heads up of what we're going to talk about. I got the fires up there. There's a couple new fires we're going to talk about, so you can see some of the coverage. But what we're going to talk about today is, a little bit of a recap of the inauguration. I know we did a show. It was viewed by a lot of folks. Hopefully you tuned in. If you did, thank you. But you can always go to warhog.com, kelleydefense.com as well, and sign up for the newsletters. But On the Range Podcast has everything, including the shows. But make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Whether you're watching this or listening to this on audio, thank you very much. You're awesome. So wherever you are, thank you for making this part of your day. A lot going on this week, and we're going to try to do these lives several times a week. Now we're out of the silly season. We're kind of getting into the routine again. Everybody's getting back to school, back to work, and we're going to try to do these as much as we can. So today, a Hughes area fire started, and another one in Laguna, I believe it started. And this newest one in the last 4 or 5 hours in the Laguna area it's burning like a wildfire, friends. So hats off to the men and women who are fighting these fires out there. All of our brothers and sisters, fellow Americans out in California, our hearts go out to you. Stay safe. Pay attention to those evacuation orders. Can't imagine what you're going through, but I know it's tough. I just can't even imagine. So just be careful. The Laguna fire, it's burning through Ventura right now, and some of the other areas. It's just been tough. It's been tough out there, and the firefighters and the public safety officers, the police officers have been working nonstop. So hats off to those heroes out there doing it. And we've talked about this before. We just don't think that you're getting the governance that you need. However, that aside, it's time to manage this incident. Incredibly mismanaged, in my opinion, and Rick's opinion, as well as the North Carolina folks, Maui, Florida, even. Hang in there. I know the newly sworn-in President Donald Trump had mentioned that he's going to take care of that. And I believe he will. It's just been a shame what's been going on. And we're going to fix that. So a lot of individuals doing some great stuff too. Hats off to them. Our prayers go out to you folks. Just be safe. Anyway, welcome to the show. Hope you're enjoying these lives. We really like doing them. You can, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can leave comments. If you have some information that directly relates to this and you want to hop on the show, we can get you on here. Go to Be Our Guest at ontherangepodcast.com. I'll pop that up here in a second. You can take a look at it, and you can shoot us an email, and we get you on a show right now. If not, we can have you on a later show if you have some direct information concerning these fires. So I kind of want to do a little bit of a recap. I know the show went off pretty well. The show went off pretty well on the YouTubes and X. A lot of people viewed it. It was also on Facebook. I thought it was a great address, but I think the theme of the week going into these first 4 days is common sense is back. Common sense is back, and thank goodness for that. And all these things, these executive orders and all these issues that are being signed in, these shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, at least anybody who really paid attention. Because one thing you can say about the President Donald J. Trump is he's going to try. It's a different world, but he's going to do what he says, but he's going to try to do it in this environment. It's different. In government, it's different. Everybody knows that. Sometimes the balances of power are things that they can navigate, and sometimes it's just not. But he's going to try to do everything he can. I know he signed a bunch of executive orders, but the inaugural address and the press conference afterwards, a big theme of that was common sense. If it's not a good deal for America, he's not going to do it because it's not his deal. He said that multiple times. It's America's deal, and it's not good for America. I'm not doing it. Tell me what you think about that in the comments. I believe he says what he means, and he's going to try to do what he says. So before we get into specifics of some of the examples that everybody's talking about, as far as the executive orders, and I know that the law passed for the student who was tragically killed at University of Georgia, and that's his first win protecting individuals when they are harmed, and different laws governing when someone is killed or injured by an illegal person in this country. So he's already done some things, and these executive orders are big. And the common sense piece is huge because he backs it up. And the second piece that I noticed is his availability, his accessibility to the press. It's like nothing we've ever seen really in my lifetime, but certainly coming out of the huge contrast from the previous administration. He tells you exactly what he's talking about and what he's doing and why he's doing it, which is very smart. Very smart. The biggest example for me is some of the deals that, pulling out of the World Health Organization. I don't think necessarily he's 100% against everything that they do, but the fact is just these type of things, these agreements are just horrible deals for the United States. The World Health Organization, the United States was paying like $500 million during his term, and he pulled out of it. That's how much it was going to cost him when everybody else was paying like $39 million. He pulls out of it. They offered for him to come back, say, hey, come back and pay what everybody else is paying, $39 million. He said no. Joe Biden puts America back into the World Health Organization. Guess what he pays? After they offered Trump 39, he goes back to the 500 million. Now, why? Why are we paying more than everybody else when we're doing a lion's share of the work? Why? It doesn't make sense. It's not common sense to do something like that. Besides, you campaigned on these things. He's going to do them, right? And the ones who are not paying as much or paying a fraction of what we were is India and China. He had mentioned that too. And these things are supposed to be based on population. Well, China's got over 1 billion people. They're paying 39 million and we're paying 500 million. Doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound right at all. Because they're developing countries is what the reason is. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. We shouldn't be paying it. We're not going to pay it. And, the Paris Treaty Agreement or a Paris Climate Treaty, same deal. I actually watched, as soon as I saw this happen, I actually turned it over to the YouTubes. Rick Bowermaster, thanks for the nice words. I'm going to post him up there. The Paris Climate Treaty costing us millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So when he pulled out of that because of the rotten deal that it is for us, when he pulled us back out of that, I flipped over to the YouTubes and you can see all these French media. I'll be honest. They weren't happy about it, but they were stating facts. There's a little bit of subversion going in there, and I'll explain here in a second. But they flat out said that, yeah, this is harmful to the environment. We believe in this stuff, and they do. And I don't. They were a great pair of anchors in the Paris media. But they also said that, hey, look, the United States taxpayers shoulder almost all the cost of this. So all those things that were in place, all those things that that organization had started, many of them are just going to go away because the Americans aren't paying for it. My response to that is, hey, French people, everybody else who's a part of that, you can pay. These things don't have to stop. You can continue them. It's not going to come off of the backs of the American people now. Or maybe we work out another deal where it's all fair and you guys are going to prove to us that you're going to shoulder some of this and we all pay equally. He also did a couple other things. Talk about being accessible. Not only is he being accessible to the press and to the American people and being held accountable, all these things he campaigned on. He is loaded up his calendar. My man is everywhere. So he addressed the World Economic Forum. And he basically said, hey, America's free. We're not going to pay all this stuff anymore. This is what we're going to do with energy. It's going to help all you too. And this is the way it's going to go. But he spoke to them today. He's been speaking to as many people that are reaching out to him as he can fit into his schedule. And I think he's doing a bang up job, lightning speed. He's got a crazy schedule and he's been crushing it. A couple other things, we hit on the energy a little bit. We hit on the energy because he immediately opened up Alaska. He stated that the energy crisis is an emergency, a national emergency, classified that. So we can do all kinds of things when something's considered an emergency. So they're going to say, like he said, they're going to start doing is they're going to drill, baby, drill. He's going to open up the energy. He's going to free up all that energy. He's going to start selling it. And the economy, as most of you folks know, energy is tied to all that. Energy is tied to all that. Once that energy, the cost of that is lowered down and the barrels are going to go down in price, it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect every one of us in our daily lives. And that's what everybody really wanted. So again, Alaska's going to be open up. He's also going to be drilling offshore and onshore. So those things are going to happen. I guarantee those things have started happening. Everybody was in place. And as soon as he signed that executive order and they got the word, it opened up. Also, another thing he does, and I don't think this is unusual, but a couple of those executive orders were undoing all the things that the Biden administration stopped. So he opened up a lot of those things, including the border. We'll talk about that a little bit. But that goes with energy too. All those things. Now, I do understand that he didn't have to do as many when it came to energy because eventually Biden and his administration had to open some of that stuff back up. But they also signed an executive order that doesn't allow any of those folks who are still in power before Trump can get his people in there to enforce any more regulations, and everything else pretty much stopped. So they can't start anything else. So that was good. Another thing too, the DOJ, the Department of Government Efficiency, that's going to help with those things too. And everybody saw that all the federal workers have to go back. We talked about this on a show or two ago. Oh, thanks, Rick. Rick was talking about my hat. Yeah, this is from my friend, served with him, the president of Eagles and Angels. Got great hats. You can do custom hats. This is actually his hat that's material from his uniform. Good friend of mine. Really love what he's doing over at Eagles and Angels. You got to go check it out because all the proceeds go to charitable events. Go check out Eagles and Angels Limited.com. So they all got to go back to work. We talked about this, all the federal workers. We talked about this. The mayor of Washington, D.C. was begging for the federal workers to come back to work because all the retail, all the parking, all the hospitality, all the office space, if you're not going to use the space, then these folks they want to lease it and use it for other things and start bringing money into Washington, D.C., parking and food and services and all these are big things. Custodial services, when people are in there, they need to have them, cleaned, and all these things just trickle down. Right. And she was begging for them to come back. So that's going to help out the folks in Washington, D.C. So glad to see that. And then some of these things with the DEI. The DEI, they shut down all those offices. No more trainings are going out. No more continued materials are going to go out. Things that are already there are getting wiped clean, and they're on administrative paid leave. So it'd be interesting to see what that is. Maybe they can transfer to other departments. I don't want to see anybody lose their jobs. But efficiency in the government is another key that the president is going to talk about. If anybody wants to talk about anything, make sure that you jump on to the YouTubes on Warhog Tactical and the Facebook of Warhog Tactical, or go to ontherangepodcast.com and email me at beourguest@ontherangepodcast.com, and I'll answer your questions. Yeah, right. It's a service-based economy. You're right, Rick. Absolutely. And just having people in your town, that's a bustling city where a lot of people can work and do things and start small businesses and retail. These folks are just not coming to work. They haven't been there in several years. Yeah, you got to come back to work, man. If anybody has a heart, accessibility is a problem because of whatever medical things, I'm sure they'll get that stuff squared away. But you get, those who are able-bodied and able to get in, you got to come to work, man. So yeah, but the energy is a big thing that I know that they were talking about. But again, I want to hit this again. How often have we seen Joe Biden answering unscripted questions as he's working at his Oval Office? We haven't seen it at all. I don't even remember the last time that we saw Joe Biden in his Oval Office talking to the press. My man signed some more executive orders today, freeing some other, giving pardons to other folks. I know the pro-life protesters, some of them are elderly. Been in jail, a couple of them been in jail for years. But anyway, as he's doing these things, talking about the AI initiative and all these other projects, I can't remember when Joe Biden was answering questions unscripted. And here's another thing too. He's present. He has answers for anything. He doesn't throw them out, and he's not boring. He's present. He's there. And I think the American people are going to respond to it. I haven't seen any polls about the numbers. I'm not a real big poll guy. But typically if a poll shows President Trump's numbers are real high, I think most of the time it's going to be true, because they don't show the good ones, right? They don't show the good ones. They only show the bad ones, or they make them up. Some of these pollsters, man. But yeah, I think it's just great to see the president, and he explains all these things. Like, I knew that the offset of the money that some of these agreements, the treaties, and the World Health Organization, which I never liked anyway, I think they're corrupt. You could tell that during the whole COVID stuff. But the numbers, the amount of money, the treaty, the Paris Climate Treaty, saving $1 trillion in that one. Remember when everybody said there's no way that Elon Musk and Doge and the president can knock down $2 trillion in the first month? That's what Elon claimed. Brother, he did it with the stroke of a pen for half of it. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Oh, by the way, if you become a free member of the crew, you can try it for free for the all access. We got some personal Zoom calls with Rick and I from Warhog Tactical. And also you can try it for free and get all access to all of our training calendars, all of our training videos. And you can watch this bonus content that we have coming up after this show. We're going directly over to the Patreon group, the crew members, and we're going to have bonus content on the crew members page after this show. All right. Another thing I wanted to make sure that we touched on, so we could say his name. And remember, our brother, the U.S. border agent, David Chris Milland. His family and friends called him Chris. He was shot early Monday in a traffic stop, murdered by a German national under a current visa. And our hearts and our prayers go out to his family. Chris worked, most of all of his adult life in the military and now in the border control. And he also was in the Pentagon building when it was attacked on 9/11. He was a survivor of that. And our hearts just go out to him. Rest easy, brother. It's tragic, and we hate to see it. And, I want to make sure that we touched on, so we could say his name. And remember, our brother, the U.S. border agent, David Chris Milland. His family and friends called him Chris. And These folks coming in here not vetted, open borders. It really upsets me. I hate to see it. I don't want to see it. And I want to get these sons of bitches out of here. So also good point by us on today. Some other things about Joseph brought something up. I'm going to put his name up here. Good question. Good comment, Joseph. Let me pull that up in the comments. Yeah, go to the comments. Those are a lot of fun. I always like to see them. One of the things Donald Trump signed today was the release of all the JFK, Martin Luther King Jr., and Robert F. Kennedy's assassination reports. Now, how quickly that's going to happen should be immediate. I don't know. And Mama Kelley Defense asked, "Hey, isn't all this stuff going to be redacted anyway?" I don't know. I don't think so. I know that the concerns have been in the past, recent past, that some of these folks are still alive that were involved in this stuff and protecting some of them. I get it. But at the same time, people want to know. I know they mentioned the drones. I know they wanted some answers on that. And we've talked about that on the On the Range podcast and on the 30-minute mark. Highly doubt it that it has anything to do with any kind of enemy of the United States, with them following the FAA rules. It could be to be undetectable, but they had their lights on, things like that. Seriously doubt it, but you never know. Let's hear about it. Anybody else want to talk about something? Go ahead and leave a message like Joseph did. So something that's not quite as serious, but I did enjoy watching some of the balls. I watched a lot of the coverage. Let me know in the comments if you watched some of the coverage of the inauguration. I'm sure many people was off because it was Martin Luther King Day. Big fan of Martin Luther King. And if you've never read I Have a Dream speech, go do it. It's absolutely amazing. And isn't it weird how the progressive left didn't really like Martin Luther King, did they? They don't want to hear that everybody should be judged, not by their color, but the content of their character. Yeah. I like them. Anyway, I digress. I watched a lot of it. I know they had to move it inside. Hats off. I'm going to say it again. Hats off to the men and women in uniform, law enforcement, fire, Capitol Police, Secret Service, military, all of you doing a fantastic job keeping everybody safe during those events. I know there's a lot of people being shipped in from out of state. I have a family member, my eldest, who I cannot be more proud of, was out there in that bitter cold doing what they needed to do, keeping everybody safe, and super proud of them. And just want to say I love all you men and women, love her especially. Go out there and just keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing. Anyway, I watched a lot of the coverage, and I enjoyed watching some of the entertainment. And okay, see you later, Joseph. Thanks for joining in, pal. And some of the entertainment I thought was really good. I thought they were great. Now, some of the entertainers, and you saw this immediately from the left, saw it immediately. Let me see. Snoop Dogg, Nelly, Soulja Boy, Carrie Underwood, all these entertainers were taking all kinds of flack. Taking all kinds of flack for performing at the events for the Donald Trump inauguration for 47, right? So I was watching Stephen A. Smith, who I really like, very based. I don't agree with everything he says, but I think he's fabulous on ESPN. We're going to talk about some media stuff too. Fabulous on ESPN, but he's based. His thoughts are well thought out, and he speaks his mind, and I think he's great. But he made a good point. Hey, why in the world is an entertainer who entertains people, who doesn't hate or doesn't at least respect the office of the president of the United States, why can't they entertain people and be paid for it? We expect them, I'm sure it's a very good paying gig. We expect them to pass up money when all they do for a living, their art, their craft, is to entertain folks. They get offered a gig. Are they not supposed to take it? Doesn't make any sense to me. Now, Snoop Dogg did have a video back in the day kind of criticizing everybody. Hey, I don't care. I think Snoop Dogg's wildly entertaining. I thought he was great in the Olympics. I think most of the people that probably had never watched the Olympics before got a treat because some of the coverage can be lame, but man, he was great. He was everywhere and they took advantage of him. And I know there's some talk about how much money he made. He earned it. He brought in a lot of eyeballs. Nelly, same deal. Why wouldn't he entertain? I don't know. Carrie Underwood. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We can't support these entertainers to go out there and do what they do, entertain people, get paid for what they get paid for, and we got to criticize them. It's absolutely ridiculous. And everybody's getting tired of it. Frankly, everybody's getting tired of it. Jelly Roll. He didn't vote for Donald Trump. You see him ringside. At the UFC, and here comes Donald Trump. Donald Trump recognizes him. They lock eyes and they shake hands. And he shook his hand like a man. You can't be polite to someone that you disagree with. Get out of here, man. People are tired of all that stuff. People are tired of that stuff, and it's over. It's over. And I got to hit this before I forget. I don't want my TBI to kick in and I forget what's going on. Yep, Rick, you're right. Yep. One team, one fight. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're all in this together, man. So they go to the National Prayer Service. And you know what? I saw an interview of Reverend Marianne Booty. I think her middle name is it Edgar? Edgar is her middle name. Last name Booty. She's a bishop. Oh man. I saw some interviews after her. She appeared on The View and she appeared on CNN and some other stuff. She seems very nice. And I have no doubt that she doesn't believe. But if you're up there praying with people, praying for the nation, passing down the message, you can't politicize it like that. Absolutely 100%. And I'm sure, I don't know if that's out of her character or not. I don't know. That'd be great if someone knows that she does this all the time in her own church. I don't know if that's what I'd be signed up to look. I can watch the news and make my own decision about politics. But I think it was ill-timed and it just was horribly out of, it wasn't good taste at all. And it just wasn't the place or anything. But the reactions of the Trump family and JD Vance and his wife told it all. It was completely unacceptable. And she did talk about the exchange that she had with the president afterwards. And he was very gracious and said that he didn't like it, but he wasn't rude or mean or anything. But yeah, it just wasn't good. It wasn't good. And she's going to stand by her guns. Here's the thing though. And tell me if I'm right. Look down in the comments and leave me a comment if you think I'm wrong. Say, Mark, you're crazy. Are you telling me that nobody in his staff, who's really good, by the way, he's got a really good staff. There's nobody in his staff that took a look at this person's background and maybe thought, maybe she's a little bit too vocal about her politics and maybe could have said something. I don't know how that is. Maybe they don't have any say in it. I don't know. I'm sure they didn't expect that. If you have any firsthand knowledge on this, you can email us at ontherangepodcast.com, contact or be our guest. But yeah, man, that was weird. I always like to ask that question about staffers and stuff like that. And I've dealt with the Trump family staff on several of their, of Mr. Trump, the first lady, and several of their kids. I've dealt with them firsthand, the staffers, and they're phenomenal. And everybody couldn't be more nice. And maybe they just didn't have a say in this. Could be. And it has nothing to do with, she seems very nice. And the interviews that she gave was very respectful. So I don't know. But yeah, I always like to ask that because remember when Biden fell on his bicycle? It was about a year or so ago. I'm like, man, who in the world is a staffer that thought that was a good idea? Put my man on a bicycle. He falls walking up a set of steps. You expect him to ride a bike? Yeah, that didn't go right. He crashed. So anyway, let's talk about a couple more things before I get out of here. And you guys can go over to ontherangepodcast.com, sign up for the crew. It's free. Sign up for the crew, join one of the tier members. If there's special pricing for military and law enforcement, go to ontherangepodcast.com, hit the crew member button and try it for free, or sign up for one of the tiers and get all the good stuff. But this show will continue over there. It's just amazing that the transparency and the amount of time that he is spending with the media, to me, it should be a very good sign for everybody. It really should. It really should. All right. I thought his speeches were good. Speaking of Stephen A. Smith and ESPN, if you guys and girls have been around the OTR universe for any length of time at all, you're going to know that, hey, Mark Kelley really likes this entertainment stuff. Entertainment, media, those two things are kind of interchangeable to me, but it is a snapshot of kind of where we're at. You can tell a lot by what is important to people, by what they consume, that kind of stuff, what channels they watch. The media over on the left, the legacy media, CNN. Now, Jim Acosta, we all know him from when he was in the press corps during the White House with Trump as 45, and they had the back and forth banter. Now, I didn't think they should have canceled him out of the White House press. He had his credentials revoked. I don't think they should have done that. And they actually took it to court and they won, and he had to go back. I didn't really agree with that. However, it gets a little old because after this whole election cycle, their credibility is already in the tank. And I thought there was a glimmer of hope. And we talked about this on the Range podcast in the past, where it seems like they were bringing on guests. What's that guy? Scott Hansen, I think's his name, or Jason Hansen. I can't remember the name. Anyway, he's on fire over there on those panels. He does a good job. And it's at least it's diverse. I like Van Jones for the most part. I think he's based. He is way to the left, but I think a lot of times he speaks the truth. I really do. But everybody else is just garbage. And I'm going to throw out another kudos for CNN. And I've said this before. My man is a pro. Oh, his name escaped me. Oh, Anderson Cooper. My man's a pro. He's 100% a pro. He is a war correspondent. He goes to all these disasters. He's been out there in California, and I'm really interested in that because our brothers and sisters and fellow Americans out in California, man, it's tough out there. Them fires, and they keep popping up. Those Santa Ana winds are killing it. But Anderson Cooper's been killing it over there on the coverage. He is good. I mean, he is right up against there. He's getting all the information he can, and he's doing a really good job. So kudos to him. But this Jim Acosta, they're going to send him to the midnight time slot where he was in the morning. He had a pretty good ratings, but I think he's so far to the left that people just are tired of it. Just like the stuff that the Reverend and the bishop was saying, Marianne Booty. People are tired of it. I don't go to church to hear, that I'm a horrible person. I should treat people or call people by a right pronoun stuff. People are done with that stuff. But CNN is hemorrhaging money. Over the last several years, I think their valuation went down by half. I think it's only worth like $2 billion now. That's a big organization. They had hundreds of layoffs, and it's continuing again. And I thought they were going to switch things up. They just can't help themselves. But the thing about someone like Jim Acosta, they got contracts over there. They can't just boot these folks out. They cannot renew them, but who knows what kind of a contract he got. With the amount of talent that they've gotten rid of, it's probably pretty good because there's not many people left. So anyway, yeah, it looks like Rick's going to go over and try check out the crew member page. I hope you do. Hope you do, buddy. I really appreciate you tuning in. Everybody, make sure that you go to warhog.com and kellydefense.com and check out our newsletters, our email lists, and our training calendars. We're in the middle, or we're at the beginning of 2025. Training calendars are going to start coming out. Go out and get yourself some training. That's what we do. That's what we do. And we do a pretty darn good job. So make sure you go check that out. Also, make sure you go to ontherangepodcast.com, ontherangepodcast.com, and check out all the latest episodes, all the swag we have there, all of the past episodes, and check out the crew membership. Check out the crew membership, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals. And as always, this show is brought to you by the Firearms Training Notebook. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way. Hold on one second. The Firearms Training Notebook, if you do not have a plan, if you're not documenting your progress, if you're not putting down your data on what you're doing, how quickly you're doing it, what your hits are, if you're not doing any of those things, then there's no way that you're properly training. It just isn't going to happen. You got to have a plan, whether it's dry fire or live fire. So anyway, be safe. Have a great rest of your week, and make sure you go over to the crew members page, because we're going to go ahead and close out this show with some bonus content. So the show continues over on the crew members page. Again, go to ontherangepodcast.com and sign up for free. Be safe, everyone. And we'll see you on the range.